Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
What's up, guys? It's robot time, I guess.
Indeed it is. We're coming hot and fresh off a Lancer stream and joining you all on this week's episode of our podcast. And this podcast is all about just talking about running games, GMing, DMing, whatever it might be called in your particular favorite system, and just, approaching it with a casual approach, just to make it seem a bit more comfortable to jump on the other side of the screen. Is what I've been telling people.
It's what we've been preaching on this channel, I guess. If you call us preachers, I don't know.
Sort of. I mean, in some ways it works, which I'm really, really proud of.
Surprising the amount of since doing the Win with Dice podcast, the amount of DMs that we know has increased exponentially.
Yes, it's certainly a non-zero amount, and I don't know. I'm really glad whenever I see someone like who wants to just try something new and do something creative with people, because it's I don't know. I'm one of the people who believes that everyone can do this. So just anytime someone wants to try it, who just doesn't feel nervous about it or anything like that. That's
and it's great for the hobby. So like our friends are starting to DM, and maybe if we don't get to play, they can start their own tables somewhere, and then the whole cycle continues, and it's all like, my loving D&D family or whatever grows even more with every DM.
It's
like another branch on the tree or whatever.
Get everyone trapped. We'll never have to DM again, Ramon.
Yeah, that's the it's just the entire everybody else are DMs, and now we just get to sit back and be like, yeah, whatever, we'll play in the game. But yeah, so let's start this podcast off with the DM tip of the week, which again, like most weeks, I'm going to flim-flam right now.
Still?
I completely forgot about it until we started recording, so hilarious.
Okay.
Well, in theme of some stuff that we said last podcast, just kind of like the DM tip of the week would be controlling the flow of information. I think that a lot of times, when you have a party entering a room, and you describe all the tattered tapestry or like the broken table and the pile of bones, that instantly, that's a skeleton that's gonna get up and attack you, right? The more emphasis you put on dungeon dressing or the descriptor of like a person or like anything, the players are going to latch onto. So kind of use that as your advantage. I mean, really try to highlight the things that you think they're going to be important for the players, like, where the plot is.
If you take some extra time to describe something, then people will put more importance on it. Yeah.
Or if you really want to mislead your players, I mean, you could also just give them a red herring. But to be honest with you, like, players typically just go for red herrings anyway. Like, they're really good at it.
They will make up their own red herrings.
Right. So, really trying to understand the flow of information and giving hints. I'm always like, again, I think I'm different from I'm different from Calvin anyway, about like letting the dice decide stuff a lot. I don't really like when the dice decide everything.
Yeah.
I'm like if I could engineer something, I would probably want to do that. So I'm about like a 60 to 70% engineering something versus like let random chaos take the reins, which is really right.
I mean, you're probably right about that. I do like my random tables. I do. I this might be slightly off topic. I don't know if I've told this story, but like there was a time where I fudged something. Just because it was at a moment that it was, it was years ago. Just because it was a moment that was like, if this happens, it's going to be a really just sad and boring end to what's a very climactic moment. So I did fudge out of it. But since that moment, I don't really do that. That's the only like significant one that I can think of.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
Yeah.
no, I do like the the dice. And also when you're playing online, there's no screen to hide the dice behind.
Yeah, right. So, but again, the flow of information is like key. It's like the way that you communicate to the world, the way you understand like mechanics. Like it's very important, and use that as your advantage. Just use those verbs, those adjectives, all that stuff. Okay.
And also, I guess
yeah.
the order you describe things into, because I'm trying to remember where I heard this from. It might have been XP to level 3 or something like that, where you're like describing what's in a room, but the moment you describe an enemy, nothing else you say will matter.
Yes, that, I mean, obviously, right? Like once you there's a pile of bones, it's like everyone's like, those are skeletons. We have to attack it, right? Like,
yeah.
Or a statue, right?
Yeah, if it's me,
statue's coming alive. Right, everyone's just like, I stabbed the statue. And it's like your sword breaks, and then it's like, oh, okay, I guess it's just a statue, and then
it comes to life.
Like, oh, yeah, and then it comes to life, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's very important, and I think I fall into that trap where I think I explained something properly, and players are like, yep, we get it, but sometimes you just gotta double check and maybe give handouts and just like bring it up a couple times just so the players really get it, because that kind of bit me in the ass for the mission in Lancer, which we'll jump into, I guess, right now.
Oh yeah, Lancer. So of course, if you follow our channel and subscribe to our Twitter, or follow our, you know what I mean, if you see us on social media and you see the content that we put out, then you'll be fully aware that we recently did another stream in Lancer, which I don't know if we can talk too much about behind the scenes stuff, but was doing pretty well right off the bat. I'm really glad people are into our Lancer content, because I know there's not a ton of it, like compared to other games or compared to that one game. There's not as much of it, but I'm really glad that people are tuning in to see us play this game.
Yeah, I know, and Lancer again it's an incredible system. I love it to pieces, and I often think about it all the time now. It's basically taking up my headspace.
Yes,
get out the way, fantasy. We're into sci-fi now. But yeah, no, Lancer's a it's a mecha RPG where you play mecha pilots, and you shoot laser beams and hit people with laser swords and other sorts of stuff that aren't lasers, but
yeah,
it's a cool system. But yeah, we finished up the second mission in our Win with Dice, I guess, Lancer campaign, which I'm running, which is honestly I think the story is a little bit lacking, to be honest with you, but like I'm more in it for just doing missions than creating a narrative right now, because I'm just having so much fun just messing with the systems and creating NPCs and trying to make cool stuff happen. So maybe we'll do a more narrative focused Lancer campaign in the future, but right now I'm just kind of having fun.
Yeah, but I mean, the setup we have now, it can work for either way. Like, we can just hop into missions, or we can do more RP stuff if you want.
Yeah,
that's what I like about it.
Well, but yeah, no, they did so the mission 2, which is dubbed Blue Breath because I'm smart and cool, had the players infiltrate a heavily, I think, an incredibly guarded research facility.
Yeah, there was certainly like a lot of dudes there, but I guess they have access to cloning technology, so that's, even though all the clones had names for some reason, I wouldn't give them names.
Well, clones have names, they have rights, they're just, they were just born, and then they just had to work so many days until they, got released to do whatever. They retired, right?
Until they got mowed down by giant robots.
Yeah, well, that comes with the territory. So they infiltrated again. So Blue Breath, because they're on this like icy planet, and this research facility is like the only thing on this planet of like any sort of civilization, is built into like these icy caverns and canyons. So, and it's basically like a fortress on top, right? So having like a frontal assault wouldn't work. So the players had to go through the icy caverns and punch a hole through the unfinished basement, like an unfinished basement section, and fight their way to this like I call it like a blackout chamber, where it was like there was all this like basically just stops any sort of wireless interaction, and they had to get there and download some data, and they're basically being thieves, and they stole it.
Yes.
to put it bluntly. And this is a heist, so like the time was on, so as soon as they punched the hole in the wall, I gave them 20 rounds to complete the whole mission, right? And that was like 4 scenes, five scenes, right?
Yeah, it was 5, right?
So yeah, we had oh no, it wasn't
there
3
2
scenes
before we got into the incredibly difficult narrative part where we were going through the rooms and we got our butts kicked, and then we had to go through one more, and then the roof?
No, it was actually the one room.
Oh, then I am
before.
misremembering. Oh, you know what? I'm probably
Yes.
thinking of the moment before we got in there. And then we got in there, and then it was a combat area. Okay. That's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, so yeah, essentially you just gave us this timer for the entirety of the mission.
Yeah, which is super cool. It's the first time I've ever used it. I mean, I come up with the idea because it was like I don't know, I'm thinking about like 24, how the clock never actually, it never stops, right? So
I was thinking that
24
sound
hours. Right. Anytime the countdown was on, I was thinking a sound effect as well. Yeah, and it was kind of tight. I mean, I think that whole thing kind of bit me in the ass a little bit because, it wasn't like everyone loses if everyone dies or the mech blows up. It's like everyone loses if you guys literally didn't complete the mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was probably the most tense thing I've ever done, really, right? Because you guys couldn't just leave. It wasn't an option. It was like, this was the only way.
Because the timer was counting down to when our extraction would arrive.
Yeah.
And like we literally couldn't leave. That was our ride.
Yeah, right. And it's like, well, I had some contingency plans. I think if you guys actually failed the mission, it would be, but then I would have to come up with those for the next bit, right? It would just be like, well, now I got to go make some content because I figured you guys would just do it. Mm-hmm. But no plan ever.
No plan survives first contact with the players. That's the thing to remember. So I do recall, like, at first we thought, oh, this timer's just for this first room, so we were kind of lax, and then it was like, no, this is for everything. So
which I thought I cleared with everybody. I even made like a mock email and sent it to everyone to to read over. And I explicitly put at the end of the thing, maybe I should have put it at the beginning of the email, where it was like, you only have one shot, and once the timer starts, that's it, right? You got to get in and get out.
Like that was just, I don't know, like for me, I just didn't think, oh, obviously there's multiple parts to this. I was like, okay, here's the thing we have to get in and out of. But yeah, like it created like this much larger tension because it, I guess in a way it created like a new limited resource for us to have, that being time. Because even as we were going through like the narrative events, or in that one combat we started the stream with, we knew that like we had to do something in this space, like, well, we have to get to the lab, or we have to get in the lab and do the hacking. And we only have so much time to do so. And the more time we take in this moment, it means the less time we'll have for the next one. The less of this resource we'll have to spread around on the next event that we go into. So that's sort of like where my headspace was that like we have this resource. We started at like what, 10 or 11 at the beginning of this? No, much less than that. Because we had
it was 10, yeah, because I realized that in the previous session, I made my narrative section a little bit too hard on everyone. I didn't give enough. I think we went over probably the podcast that we like after we streamed it. But I mentioned that I believe I made it a little bit too hard. I didn't give enough good things to combat the bad things. I just assumed that a neutral thing would be better than a bad thing, when I should have been like, no, we should just put more good things in there. And so they just ran into a whole lot of walls, like literal walls, during the narrative thing, and got damaged heavily. I think when the players got at everyone, all of the pilots specifically, because everyone was like, I need to preserve my mech for the actual combat, all the pilots had like no HP. Everyone
Yeah,
was on the
because,
verge of passing out.
For people who don't know, essentially what we were doing was basically a balance between a random encounter table and a chart. And there were some consequences for going in certain rooms and stuff like that. But one of the things was either taking damage to your mech or taking damage to your pilot directly. And again, managing resources. Like in mech combat, your mech HP and how much damage your mech has taken, what condition it's in, that's going to be much more important than your pilot's condition, which can basically be like you still function, your mech still functions regardless of if your pilot's HP is at 2, like mine was.
I think everyone's was actually.
Yeah, no, I probably had the highest.
Yeah, you guys burnt through your pilot HP down until you guys couldn't do it anymore, which was hilarious. But yeah, it makes sense because like your mech, if your mech goes down, then your pilot HP matters, right? But while you're in your mech, you're typically like safe, right? Like nothing can hurt you other than like the DM says.
Yeah.
Right. So that was interesting. I'm definitely going to employ that. It maybe pare it down a little bit, maybe add more good things versus bad things, so everybody gets like, because it was funny when things went bad and everybody laughed, but it also like when it happened too many times that everyone was getting a little bit annoyed, and I'm like, I don't want that, right? I want the booze and the chairs, right? I want all of the range of emotions, right?
Fair enough.
So you guys got into the second scene, and you guys had to and I built the map to be like a kind of like a U shape, or like an oval shape. So it's like you guys centered in the middle, and you guys had to go to the bottom of the map, retreat something, and go to the top of the map. And I made sure there was enough basically just line of sight blocking stuff. Like there was a lot of hallways, right? Because I want to make sure this facility has it's like you're navigating an internal space. I don't want it to have too much open space. Like everything was like corridors, right? And I think it worked out fine. And I believe luckily we figured out a way to get our slowest member of the party to move faster.
Yeah, my mech was essentially the truck for the majority of this battle, because with the abilities and technology that my mech has, I'm able to basically pull people along at my own speed, including the much larger mech that's part of our team that was like scraping through the hallways just to move because it couldn't fit inside.
Yeah, I mean, when I designed the map, I didn't want to like make the hallways bigger, so I just I ruled that like our largest mech, which is like a size 3 mech, which is I would say at least like apartment building size, maybe like a small apartment building size, like in terms of like actual Lancer sizing. I said he could fit, but then he would block line of sight, which was very important. I mean, it never really came up because you guys basically left him to fend for himself while the rest of the team kind of sped around the place because they were faster than him, like way faster than him. But yeah, Magenta Orangutan, like if anything, you guys could have just put Orangutan in front of you and just kind of pushed him forward.
Yeah, we could have
kind of just use them as like a battering ram. I would have allowed it. But yeah, no, it was cool. I think it was a good way of challenging the players because it was less about like killing everybody in the map, which funny enough, you guys did every single time for some reason, but maybe because I'm just like I'm good at putting enemies in the way. But yeah, no, it was challenging you other than just kill all the dudes, which I think is really fun about Lancer. There's lots of ways where it's like, well, you could kill all the dudes, but it's actually detrimental to be wasting time like that, right?
Exactly. Like it takes up the resource, because there were like, you did have another sort of rewards table system for some of the rooms inside the map, where if we took out all the enemies that were there, we roll a dice, we might get some stuff. But like we could stay and probably get those things, and we did get a couple of them because they were kind of on the way. But at the same time, that eats up our resource of time.
Right.
That's like, that eats into something that we know we have to spend on the next map, but we don't know what the next map is going to be. So we don't know if we'll have time for that.
And you know what? Like, honestly, I totally, because I put squad, like a squad in each of the rooms to protect like just dudes on the ground, but I didn't realize that squads are actually like super strong in Lancer. It's kind of crazy. So squads automatically just get resistance to all damage that isn't like an area of effect damage, which is kind of nuts because most of the guns in the game are not area effect damage, right?
Yeah, but they are made to focus on like one large target as opposed to a bunch of human-sized people.
Exactly, right? So they're mech-sized weapons. Like, sure, you can shoot one dude, but then there's still like 20 more dudes, right? Like, you know, which is, I think it's awesome because it still kind of grounds Lancer to, instead of it just being like, yeah, mechs are powerful, but they're like, most combat is still just people to people, right? Just dudes with guns. And it makes me want to use more, like, makes it feel more comfortable using squads in it, which I think is pretty cool. Because you know, when I think of like a mech battle thing, it's like, oh, I should probably only be using mechs, but that's totally not true, right? I could be using everything. So that was kind of cool for the DM side. But then I also realized that like, oh shit, basically they only had 10 HP, right? But then I'm like, with the resistance now, they technically have like 20 HP, right? So
yeah, because
like,
resistance is half damage.
Yeah, half damage, right? So I essentially said like I put that little, you know, because I was kind of harsh on you guys in a narrative thing. I was like, okay, you can get more resources. I was like, oh, I'll just put a squad here, so they should be like, you know, it'll take them a turn. Essentially, it's like, for me, it's like converting one turn or a couple of players' turns into getting a resource, right? Because it's like, you guys will probably hit and you guys will probably kill the squad in one round, and then the timer will tick down, but then you'll get back a resource that you can use to finish the mission with, right? But because it's 20 HP and it's like, yo, no one can really do that in one turn, even if you all work together, it's like highly unlikely, right? Then it kind of backfired on me. And I was like, ah, shit. I actually made this too hard for them it's not worth it anymore, right? Because then there's no reward. It's too much effort for the reward. So then you'll be using like 2 countdowns out of the 10 that you have just to get back reserves that you have no control over, right? And it's like, well, that's too much. And that's why that kind of fell apart in my mind. So, you know, now I'll think about it a little bit more, even though, you know, I'm totally fine with the players, you know, failing at something, but I also want to, like, you know, make it so they have a fighting chance. Yeah, like a fighting chance. It feels good to succeed. If you don't succeed and you just fail, like, it just kind of drags and it's not a fun session.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even like it's the same thing as with the narrative section earlier, is that you have something that works mechanically, even if you want to adjust the difficulty of it. For me, who has now killed 3 PCs. Sometimes you don't know how difficult something is going to be until you see it in action, and then you're like, oh, maybe this is harder than I intended it to be.
Yeah, totally. And that's why, like, through the mission, I just changed up my rules, because initially I was like, okay, you have to enter the room to collect the stuff, and I was like, and then you mentioned it, and then the players asked, and I was like, no, it's fine. You just kill the dudes, you just get it, right? Because I was like, I don't want to waste them even more time, right?
Right.
And then it's like, but then, you know, it's like, oh, is it the player that gets it who kills the guards? And I was like, no, if you're close enough, you can, like, you know, share, right? You could just choose who gets it, because I think that's perfectly fine. You guys can, like, grab a box and toss it to the next person, right? Like, that's fine. But then it was like, when everyone rolled, they got, like, the one that they didn't want. And I was like, okay, you guys wasted, you know, I wouldn't say wasted, but you guys could have used those actions to just move to the exit instead of trying to get through the room. And then it was like, okay, well, now you can roll 2 dice and just take which one you want, right? Which ended up netting somebody an extra structure or stress or something, which I think they lost.
Yeah.
which was good, because that means it was worth it.
Yeah, structure is being part of your mech health.
Yeah, mech health.
I don't know. I don't want to assume people know everything that we're saying. When it's something like Pathfinder, I'll just be like, yeah, people understand Pathfinder. But when it's Lancer, I want to also just say, by the way, that's what this means.
Yeah, if no one, if people don't know who are listening, there is HP for your mechs as well as like a heat capacity. So that's like how much heat your core power generator thing is putting out. And then as you take damage or as you take heat, once it hits 0 or the cap of the heat, you take a structure essentially, where it's like now your mech is taking significant damage, like pieces of gear or arms are flying off, or there's their chassis of your mech has been punctured, and there's like, you've lost a good chunk of your stuff, of your mech, right? And it's like catastrophic damage essentially. So yeah, essentially a player got an extra bit of buffer before being, your mech being destroyed.
yeah, basically.
Which was worth it. I was worried because, man, I just didn't want anyone to lose their mech and then have to walk on foot, because it would have been a definite like death spiral at that point, if somebody lost their mech too.
Was anyone? Well, I guess maybe Tempest and Grudge were close to being destroyed. Because for me, my health was fine for the most part.
Yeah, everyone got really lucky. To be honest with you, I think Grudge. He lost 3 structure, right? So he was on his last structure actually. Mm-hmm. And the way it works is the more structure damage you take, so much structure you lost, the higher chance of like catastrophic damage happening. So it's like you roll on a table, and basically if you roll a 1, and depending on how much structure you lose, you could just die. Like your mech, even though your mech has more structure left, you could just explode because it hits something important, right? Or like it your top half gets dislocated from your bottom half, so your mech isn't functioning anymore, right? But like he got really lucky. I'm pretty sure no one rolled too bad on the structure table, which was good. And I don't know. Everyone just got really lucky. I got really lucky because again, I was like, damn, did I make this too hard?
Maybe, but I mean, you still have a workable system for later. We could. I do want to mention your Roll20 macros that you've made, especially that structure damage table. We should really find a way to share that with people, maybe on the site or something.
Yeah, for sure. You could just. I'll send you what the macro is, because it's just like a text thing. Even if you're just using the Lancer sheet in Roll20, you should just be able to use the macro button and make a macro button for it, and it's like really simple. It'll roll all the dice for you, it'll roll all the other stuff, and it's nice. I don't know when I got so into making buttons and macros for in Roll20, but as soon as I started, I couldn't stop myself, and now I made buttons for everything. Just easier for me, man. Just easier in general. Like I hate it when it's like the game has to stop because you have to go into a PDF or IRL. You have to look in a book or something like that. I just want it to be right in front of you. So even in when we used to play like in person, I actually just printed off a couple of tables and stuff from the Lancer Core rulebook, right? Just so I just had it in a binder and had it sitting on the table. So if someone wanted to look up something, or we're like, oh man, it's the structure table, I just flip to the structure table thing, we just roll it, right? It's just like it was just ease of access, and that's why I like the button. I wish I had a better way of kind of organizing the buttons. I think that's because some of them are like in the action tab, some of them are like on people's sheets, so I'll figure it out. Also, I don't like everybody pressing my buttons because I put buttons in the chat.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. What was it, like ambushers kept coming up?
Yeah.
Focus
hashtag
down.
ambushers. Hashtag focus down. Yeah. Man. Well, anyway, so the all of the PCs, those jabronis, they looped around while Magenta Orangutan I took basically just was keeping the attention of the enemy, while the enemies like basically formed a defensive wall for the what's it called, the elevator. Mm-hmm. And as soon as like the players got around to them and there was a big fight initiated, and everyone kind of there was a moment where everything was fine, and then everyone just got shot a whole bunch, and there was a lot of HP loss. Like I think everyone, like everyone took like almost 100 HP damage between everyone.
Because we were facing enemies who had like only a couple direct routes to get, like they were in between us and where we had to go. There were 2 paths to get there. They were there waiting for us. They had prepared actions. They were behind a shield. Like there was no way we were going to get through that without getting kind of wrecked at least. I know I got hurt pretty bad, but I started off in a decent position, so it wasn't too much of an issue for me personally.
Yeah. It was just trying to getting around the corner, which I think Magenta, because he was so slow anyway, he decided to just try and engage the enemy right off the bat. But he was actually being really smart and basically just like running up, taking a shot, running back, reloading, and just repeating that, taking out a few enemies before for the other players. You guys kind of looped back around, which I think is how I thought it was gonna go. It was basically like I think the players would split up, if anything, or maybe send one person down to go into the room to get the data, and the other 3 would just engage the enemies, right? Just so they don't have to do it all at once. But all 3 of you guys went down because you're like, I need the cool stuff in the cool rooms. Also, I need my battle taxi, which was kind of hilarious. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure it would have been fine if you grabbed everyone and just moved everyone.
I didn't know I could grab multiple people, because that did come up towards the end of the battle, where I had to move an enemy out of the way while also pulling an ally along. I was under the assumption I could only do one at a time, but like now this tactic has opened up, so...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Battle Taxi Blackbeard's a thing, right? So, you can even grab the straps or whatever from... it's a little bit of ways in Lancaster, where basically you just become a flatbed grappler dude, and then whoever's attached to you and your friends can just swing around like Mech Spider-Man. So it's like kind of hilarious, actually. Well, but yeah, no, it was awesome. I think it was cool. I think I was kind of talking to one of the players afterwards, and they were like saying like, oh man, I felt bad for your character, Calvin, because all you did was kind of move people around. But I think it was...
Oh no, because like for me, I mean, there's multiple things for me in that, like I'm also trying to do, like I'm just looking at the socials, I'm looking at the stream software and everything. So for me, I don't mind being the support guy, because like what I wanted to do was I just wanted to help people as best I could, and there's no mech cleric, so...
I mean, there is
sort of a mech, I guess, cleric. But I already decided to do a grappler, so...
Yeah, you can spec into mech cleric, and then you could be the giving all the hugs to the enemies while you support your friends. Exactly. That would be a cool.
To be fair, though, eventually. To be fair, my attempts to do grappling in the earlier battle were like not working out in my favor. So.
Well, you just rolled poorly. Like it's not your fault.
Well,
it's not like
I didn't want to keep taking a chance on it, and just put myself in danger. So I was like, the most useful thing I can do is just help other people get around, because we do have, again, we have that time limit. We have one person who has, like, on their downtime, they prepared a thing specifically for hacking to do it quickly. So, like, most important strategy right now is get them into the room where they need to do what they need to do. They do it quickly, and then we get out quickly. And my mech's function was helping other people move quickly. For this battle, like, I'm fine with just being the taxi.
Let's talk about how being prepared for a fight Joel's character was, like, to do a thing. Like, it was hilarious because I wanted to start telling players, like, okay, if you guys want to know more about the next mission or work on personal stuff, just let me know, right? And then so we have to extract some data during some downtime activities. Joel's character's like, well, if we're gonna go do all that hacking stuff, let me make sure that I'm the best hacker suited for this possibility. So I was like, okay, so set this thing up as where Joel's character is good at hacking. Sure, he gets he put some effort into making a device that will help him download stuff faster or whatever. And I was like, all right, whatever, that's fine, right? Sounds good. He'll get an accuracy on it. And like specifically because he said like he wants to be able to download the information quickly, I'll be like, you can double whatever the result is, right? So then I made the table. And I was like, okay, cool. Here's the table, right? If you roll 9 or below, it's just 1. If you rolled between 10 and 19, it's a D3, which is like kind of better than 1, but you can still roll a 1. And then, the 20 plus is like, okay, here's the big money, D3 plus 3, right?
Yes.
So on average, you would get 5, right? And I was like, okay, what are the chances of Joel critting on the first roll, right? He would have to at least roll a 14 and then the 6 on the die, right? On the accuracy. So I was like, that's like highly unlikely, right? That's like more in my favor. He's probably going to get like a D3 and he's going to roll, which average is 2, which then it's like 4, which is like still within like the way I wanted it to be like, 2 to 3 rounds, right? Of like actual trying to download the information.
Yeah.
Right. And that did not happen,
Nope.
which was awesome. I think because I was also kind of worried about the time that Joel just did it in one go. He rolled a 19 plus an accuracy and like got 20 plus, obviously, and then rolled a D3 plus 3 and got a 5. I only made it to 10. He needed to only get 10, so he got 10, and it was just like he did it in one go, which was like, super impressive and really kind of showed that like that his character's preparedness.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, we could talk about tactics in that way, because like just having that information before going into the battle, I think definitely shifted that part of it, because if that didn't happen, it would have taken us much longer to get up and around. We wouldn't have been able to stop in that second room to get resources, which means I think it was I don't remember, was it Mako who got the structure that we got from there? Well, whoever it was wouldn't have been able to get that extra HP back, and who knows how that might have gone like later in the battle. Yeah,
right. So man, like it was awesome. I wasn't even sad about it. I was mostly just impressed. I was like, wow, I didn't believe it would happen, and you showed me up. So that was good. I was happy about that. That was a high point for me, and kind of like a high point for Joel's character, because he was like, honestly, like I always want to give each player like a moment to shine, right? And the superstar magenta orangutan was shining a little bit too bright. So I'm glad that somebody else kind of did something miraculous, which was kind of awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, any situation that requires moving, magenta orangutan might struggle, unless I'm around.
Yeah, I think that everybody, as far as the team, it was really fun to have the dynamic between Magenta's raw power to just delete people, and and we also found that I think Corey's mech, his core power, Mako's core power, he was able to blast a couple holes in walls and be able to like create alleyways for people to just get around. Yes, which was came clutch right at the end.
that was a brilliant move when he like blew that hole in the wall and then blew up the mech on the other side. I was like, oh, real nice. And then he just like walks through the hole. I was like, oh, obviously he just made a new hallway. He'll just go that way.
Yeah. It was so good, which I thought was brilliant. I was just impressed. And then, coming up on the other side, when you guys went up the elevator, I was like, oh shit, you guys only had, well, technically, if I want to be right, you guys really only had one more round. Mm-hmm. But I decided that like this is going to be kind of close and I don't actually want them to fail. So I decided to be like, okay, instead of it being like one round, because technically like there is time between you going into the elevator and climbing up, I was like, we're just gonna cut to the next scene and be like, you have two rounds left, which and then I decided, okay, maybe I should delete some of these enemies. I basically reduced the enemies to 2/3 of whatever that was there, and because the thing was they had to clear the LZ. So you just had to end the round with no enemies on the map, and you guys would get out, right? Essentially. Right. And I trusted you guys. I was like, okay, well, there's 4 enemies on the map. If everyone takes out 1 enemy, and also this part took place like outside of the facility, like on like a helipad area. So and they were like built within these cliffs, right? So you can like walk enemies off the map, down the cliffs and stuff like that. So I was like, there's tons of ways for you guys to just delete people. So I was like, for sure, this will work out, and it did, because I think you started the round by using your Omni hooks from your core power, because you got a second core power from your your downtime stuff, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was because you let us like position ourselves wherever we could, just wherever we wanted. So yeah, I don't know if I wrote down what happened there.
Yeah, you did your Omni Hook, and I think you used your core power twice, and
Yes.
you managed to pull 2 enemies right off of their position and just drop them down the chasm to their deaths, which was pretty awesome. I think Joel tried to invade somebody and failed, so he didn't kill somebody. Orangutan obviously took his shot and deleted somebody. I think Mako at the end came through with the clutch, the lock on with his Nexus launchers, and we're able to do some AP damage and took out a guy which was great.
Yeah, we didn't need the 2
me.
rounds. We just needed the 1.
Yeah, right. And it basically showed me if you guys really, if I didn't put all these walls in the way or give the timer or anything like that, you guys would have just minced through all the enemies.
Probably.
You guys on an open field, man, oh man, these guys would have been dead. So it was definitely worth the challenge of you guys going through all these corridors and hallways. I do want to know.
Oh, okay. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to comment. It was definitely a very victorious moment because there were some very tight sections coming out of there. Some very we were all pretty. Our pilots especially were in pretty rough shape. So just imagining us bursting up out of this. Coming up out of the elevator into this snowy landscape. There's still a few more guys. We're seconds left on the clock before we need to extract, and just the team really coming together. Whether it's the pulling people off, the doing the laser blast, even the lock-ons that were then used to give the teammates accuracy. All of that, just as a combination. I don't know. It was just a really, really. Really brilliant moment for the entire team. They all really came together.
Yeah. For sure. And it also I loved about the mission was when finally you got that team cohesion, right? Everyone's working together. Everyone can knows a little bit of combos. You guys got a little combos out of there with Battle Taxi, right? And basically Corey knows that if he pops his core power, he can create tunnels, essentially. Right? You guys have all these little bits of okay, don't worry, I know what to do in this situation. So it's you're just getting that team familiarity, which is super awesome. I love that, and that's what I want to happen, just so I can make things even more complicated for you guys.
Oh, no.
But yeah, no. So I wanted to talk about the enemy design in Lancer. I think the NPC design in Lancer is brilliant. Just the sheer number of combinations that you could put together was awesome. Because actually, so the 3 enemy types I used, people who are familiar with Lancer, they would know these titles. They're or who knows what the DM titles. I had an Aegis, which is basically a bubble shield generating mech, essentially. A Scourer, which is a laser beam focus one enemy down kind of mech, and a Pyro, which is a flamethrower type mech. I also had another mech, which was a repair mech, but I used one of it and I wasn't so impressed with it, so I didn't bother using it again.
Yeah. You had a ton of those flamethrower dudes, though.
Yeah, I did have a ton of those flamethrower dudes. Because, funny, all of them do this damage called Burn, which ignores armor and just does continuous damage, right? So at the end of a player's turn, whoever has Burn on it, they have to make an engineering check, and if they don't, then they take more Burn. And all of the mechs, except for the repair bots, so I didn't use them anymore because I was I don't really need this right now, could do Burn in some capacity. And some mechs like the Pyro would say hey, if the person you're firing at already has burn damage, you actually just double the amount of burn they take, right? And everybody was able to apply burn to targets. So it was kind of a real serious situation. It was if you guys didn't know what you were doing or got ganged up, the mech could just go from full HP to 0 HP really easy.
Yeah, I was especially worried because my mech specifically also gives me negative on engineering checks. So
yeah,
that was a little disconcerting.
Yeah, and Pyro's in close quarters, man, because everyone has to bunch up, right? A lot of the times it's great. It was awesome. And the because the one big thing with Pyros is if there's an open field and everyone can walk anyway, they're super slow. They only move 2 spaces, so they're never gonna catch you, in all honesty. So you're never gonna be able to catch up to people, but because you can put them in front of places where the players have to get to, then they have to deal with them.
Yeah, like basically this is the best position for them, in a hallway between us and the goal.
Yeah, man, and it was awesome. I got to flamethrower a bunch of you guys. The Scourer one of the Scourer things, I think in the first mission it never really came up with a focus down mechanic, but the focus down mechanic is like nuts. It's like it does, if you get shot twice, consecutively between rounds, like you take 6 damage up front, energy damage, and then you take 5 burn damage on top of that. It's like 11 damage. That's like 1 full goblin's worth of HP.
Yep.
Yeah, and everyone really felt it. It definitely, for me, kind of made it so, like, you either had to, like, really try and use the cover or get out of line of sight from these things. Like, you really had to, like, kill a dude and then go around a corner somewhere so you can't get shot. Or, like, I think Joel, in the beginning of the game, or the mission, used his jam ability really well. He had an invasion that is able to jam people, which was like super critical to stopping people from getting double tapped, essentially. And the I don't think it came up, the Aegis, like his bubble dome didn't really do much, because I think he was fighting what's it called? Magenta was fighting him, and he has like the Cyclone Pulse Rifle, which is reliable 5, which is kind of ludicrous, but
yeah, reliable damage is the thing. Will also always do that damage. Again, for people who don't know, you can also just watch the stream if you want to know how the game works.
Yeah, but yeah, I was pretty happy with the combination of stuff. Although I didn't really get to use an ability, which I was kind of sad about. The pyros get to, like, depending on how much heat they build up, they can just do like an area effect where they vent all their heat, and everyone has to make an engineering check or get that much burn and heat and stuff. And I was like, oh man, it never happened, because everyone just kind of murdered them as soon as they can. Right?
Yeah. Although I have that ability now from the new mech license that I'm going with. So
yeah,
if I can successfully grapple someone, I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna like vent on them and hopefully burn them to death.
Yeah, it's cool. It gives you some options where it's like, you can still, instead of taking your action to basically heal yourself or clear some status effects, you can also turn that into an attack, which is like pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. But yeah, no, Lancer was super fun. I think everybody had a fun time playing the games. I think everybody had a good time watching. I think we flubbed some of the rules, because I don't really play with the rules 100% anyway.
Like most things,
I make up stuff all the time. Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, it was never like a less fun issue because of that. Definitely a lot of great moments. I know I don't feel too bad about just being the taxi, because to me that was like me leaning into something that my mech can do that other people can't do.
Yeah.
So
and
for me, like that's what I was enjoying about the game. Yep.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you guys were playing different mechs with like abilities to teleport, or if everybody was a super fast speedster, or the ability to just kind of, I don't know, make holes in walls, it would be a way different game. Right? Like I think there's some mechs out there who's able to just make like basically portal holes, and that would just completely, like, who cares? Right? Who cares if there are a bunch of enemies in this hallway? We'll just make our own way.
We'll just go around.
Yeah, which I think is fun. I mean, it's one of the unique things about Lancer, I think, where it's just like, it doesn't really matter what kind of mech you're piloting. There's no, like, you don't really need like, a tank or a whatever, like a mage or a wizard. That stuff doesn't exist. You can play whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. It'll all work out, mostly.
Sort of. Yeah, mostly.
I mean,
but I mean, at the same time, it was still nice to have like people who had different skills and just these different varied builds. Like, I don't know, part of me wants to try doing a different kind of build, but part of me is like, I gotta get this grapple thing to work.
Well, Yeah, and you know, I think that like if you lean onto maybe talking to the players, right? I mean, there's tons of abilities where you're allowed to, you know, give out free lock-ons, right? There's a skill where you can just at the end of your turn give out a free lock-on, which then you could partner with like, you know, Grudge or something who has a really crazy sensor range, and he would be able to help you do all those grapple skills. Like +1 accuracy on something is significant, right?
Yeah.
It's like mostly just whether or not you can succeed or not. Typically with an accuracy you can succeed. Although to be fair, Corey proved us wrong that even with accuracy and a reroll, you can still miss.
Yeah, I don't know what Corey's luck is. I don't know how, because like as a player, like whatever game I'm playing with Corey, like I always know he's got some. He's usually gonna have some sort of big brain strategy. He's usually gonna know how the game works, so he'll have something up his sleeve. Especially like in Pathfinder, like I know his character is gonna do a ton of damage. Like when we were holding down that one tunnel in Pathfinder. Like I know his character is fully capable of doing that, but just every now and then, I don't know if it's like confirmation bias at this point, but
well, honestly, like see the dude, like I've seen the dude roll like, you know, 5 ones in a row, right? Like for real, and you know, this man has like either he does spectacularly or he just fails, and you know. We saw on the episode or like the stream, it was he definitely had a funny moment.
Yeah, watch the stream to find out.
yeah. But yeah, no, I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm glad all my players are liking Lancer. I think it's been a while since I actually DM'd. This is the first time I'm DMing in like months. Well, not months, in a month since the last stream, but like it's been a while since I DM'd. And it was nice to flex that muscle a little bit.
Oh yeah, now you're missing it. Now there's too many DMs around.
What have we done?
But no, just I don't know. I keep thinking about that moment on the roof, and I keep thinking about like just that. I'm just picturing the hero shot of all our mechs posing, our theme song just in the background, like one final sting of music before we all eject out, get picked up, and then fly off. And then, I don't know, the base explodes for some reason.
Well, I mean, you could just set your mechs to explode, so it'd be like, yeah, the mechs explode, and then, you know, they can't follow you or something. Good enough for me. But yeah, you know, it's cool, and I'm happy to DM and, you know, have fun, man. I just want to have fun with Lancer. I'm actually playing in a couple Lancer games as a player, and they're a little heavy sometimes.
Yeah,
I think. But you know, it's still fun. But I'm just like, man, I would just like some good old fashioned, like we did it. I'm tired of it getting more complicated. That's why I think I have to.
That's what I would
have to
do
run a
Lancer.
game. Oh man, everything's always getting so complicated, and I just want to be the good guys, or the bad guys.
It's gotta be
I don't want to. No, I just want to be sponsored by Monster Energy drink.
Yeah, that other campaign. Gosh, we're playing that this week, so I gotta be ready for them. Did I tell you about the TikTok that got shared in the group chat? It was with my other group. There was this TikTok that was like, hey, you want to drive your DM crazy? Next time you're in a library, ask what books are available by elven authors or halfling authors. What are their names? What are the books about? All these random, like, really specific questions. What sort of history does this thing have, and blah blah blah. Like, just drilling down like the most really specific, minute details, and of course a bunch of names. I was like, oh god, no. Because right now they're at the largest library in my game's world. So
Calvin, you're so screwed. They'll just ask you questions forever. Actually, I'm pretty sure there was a podcast with on I think it's Phil DeFranco's podcast with Matt Mercer, which is pretty cool. That was like kind of worlds colliding for a little bit for me because I followed Phil DeFranco for a while now.
Oh, really?
And,
I actually did see that episode, but I don't really watch Phil DeFranco, but I saw Matt Mercer on it, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to this.
Yeah, damn you, Matt Mercer. Damn you for being such a wonderful man. But yeah, no, he mentioned how I think it was Liam or something like that. He said that Liam's like kind of an ass like that. Well, he'll just ask like a million questions. I mean, it might be another player, but I think it was Liam.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Liam.
Yeah, where he'll just go and ask a million questions about like the books and blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah, actually, Liam's character like always knows the exact time of day, so. Whenever it comes up, he'll like specifically say, DM, what exact time of day is it?
Oh, I mean, that's pretty cool of a character quirk. I think that's awesome. Although it kind of sucks because it's like the DM is like, I guess I have to make up a number now.
Yeah.
I can't just say it's the afternoon.
No, it's exactly what time in the afternoon, 2:30 or whatever.
Yeah, which I think would be pretty cool to work in. I mean, there could be a cool story beat where it's like, well, your character realizes that like whatever the person's saying is wrong because you know exactly how long it's been from whenever to whenever, and that doesn't add up. And you're like, I'm a genius, right?
Yeah.
I get a cool Sherlock moment without being an investigator.
Well, Ramon, we know Investigator is your favorite new Pathfinder 2e class, so I don't know what you...
Oh my gosh, Pathfinder, how? Why have you done this to people? Like, Jesus. Anyway, I love Pathfinder 2. It's definitely a game with its problems, but I think like 90% of it's really good.
Yeah, like every game, 90% of it's really good, and that's why you play it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man.
I don't know. Anything else you want to say about Lancer?
People should go pick it up and play it. I don't know when it is, but Wallflower should be out eventually. It's just gonna be like a campaign expansion for it, which is I'm super looking forward to it. That's actually one of the games I'm playing in right now. It's like if I can I'm not gonna give it away like the storyline because we've been playing like the alpha version of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's basically like you're on like a jungle planet. It's kind of like I should say like. It has the feelings of, you know, like Vietnam War where like you're in like a hot sweaty jungle and you're like fighting people, right? And you know, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like you're on your own, stuck in the jungle behind enemy lines kind of deal, which is kind of nice. Yeah, it's cool. It's heartbreaking a little bit because I love NPCs too much, and when I get attached to them, it's like I want them. They're like all my children. I have to protect them.
Yeah,
so
no, I know the feeling.
When bad stuff happens, and I'm just like tired. Like I physically get tired. I'm like, God damn it, because I'm just worried. I'm like I just want things to go back to normal. I just want to have our nice NPC time where I get to train my duders. And they can call me Sarge or whatever, and it'll be good. But now there's all this violence and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want it. I want to protect my boys. I want my boys back.
Well, we could put a link to, is it on like a store? Is it on Kickstarter or something?
No, it hasn't even been out yet. I think on the Lancer Discords you can get like an alpha version of whatever they produce so far. Although I think they're getting really close because from Twitter has told me there's like a lot of artwork being done and being completed. So I think we're very, very close. I don't know if there's a release date yet, but we can probably link to Massive Press, which is the company that produced Lancer. They have a Itch.io?
Yeah,
I don't
Itch.io.
know how to pronounce it. Itch.io? Yeah, they have an Itch.io page, which I think they can, you know, have a link or something or some information there, or just go to their Twitter. They'll probably just tell you.
Yeah, I'll put a link to their Itch.io for sure, and a link to Lancer as well. Just, you know, we want to shout out, like, games that don't get enough play. That it's something that our pals over at the Untold Stories Project are doing, and I think it's a good idea, so... We'll do that for Lancer as well. Just, you know, like, whatever, if people don't know about it already, they should go check it out. If you're interested in that kind of game, definitely you can pick up the PDF for free. As I mentioned in the stream, also go watch our stream.
Go watch it. It's fun.
Yeah, go watch
I think it was probably one of our best streams to date.
Yeah, and actually,
so.
I would agree with you.
Even though the
like
lack
just
of
in all ways, because I've improved the some of the things about it, like the background music and just having that text scrolling of like what track is playing and the countdowns and everything. I think it's definitely a better looking stream than it was before.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad about my sound effects though. I gotta figure that out. I just, again, being the best procrastinator DM, I just don't. And then we have to play, and then I'm like, maybe I should try this out right before we get started.
Yeah,
it never works out.
That's how DMing works, Ramon. You have nothing for days, and then 3 hours before you have everything.
Yeah, it just shows up, and you're just like, and everyone's like, "Wow, you're the greatest," and you're just like, "Yep, I know."
Yeah, you know what? It was GM Day recently, GM Appreciation Day recently. If you haven't yet, just let your GM know that you appreciate them. Because speaking from experience, there's always this moment of panic right before you're in a game, and immediately afterwards you're like, oh man, was that game even fun? Do people even enjoy it? And just hearing that people are having fun and looking forward to the next time you're in a game is really rewarding. So if you haven't told your GM or your DM or whoever's winning your game that you're having a good time, just make sure just give them a little pat on the back and say, hey, your story is good.
Yeah, man, if you're nice to your DM, you probably won't kill your character.
Oh no, like 100% still will. I mean, I know I would.
Unless you're Calvin.
Look, I'm not killing you, this Drake is.
Yeah, it's still, my hands aren't bloody at all. I didn't do anything.
I'm all the way over here. I'm on your side. I'm as surprised as you are.
Oh my gosh. I'm as surprised as you are.
But yeah, again, just check out that stream. Check us out on the Twitter or the Facebook. I did mention Untold Stories Project, our pals over there. Where I'm showing up on Wednesdays playing a Fallout RPG. So this goes up 12 EST, so you'll have time to catch the stream if you're watching it. Because we play in the evenings. I also would recommend you subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell. So you get notified when we put down an episode or when we go live. And our website, winwithdice.ca, where you can go check out. I want to put up Steven's art. He shared some art with us. I want to run it by him. Maybe it'll be up there by the time you see this episode.
Who knows?
For sure, you can also find out more about Win with Dice in general if you go to that site.
It's a good site. Calvin put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, it's really nice looking. I really like the background.
Nice. Yes. Calvin, is there anything else?
Well, there is one last thing I wanted to mention. Just a little thing that kind of popped into my head that I think I should point out. And it's just that I think everybody who's listening to this should remember to win with dice. I feel like that's getting longer and longer every time we do it.
Yeah, it's just always just needs to be more of a lead up.
Yeah, you know what's coming. I'm just stalling.
All right. Well, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Check out our stream. Check out all the links. Check out Lancer, and have yourself a good day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Wednesday.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.